Joe Biden will be sworn in today, and right after he will be signing a record 15 executive presidential orders, most of them aimed at taking down the Trump legacy. We're talking a very fast path to citizenship for undocumented immigrants, actually 3 years, so when you think about it, just in time for the next election. We're also talking about stopping funding to the border wall, getting back into the WHO and into the Paris Climate Agreement. No matter how you feel about all of those issues, this is a record amount of executive orders. In comparison, Trump signed 1 on day 1 and followed January with signing an extra 2, and he was called an authoritarian for doing that. So I wonder how the media will be treating Biden for doing this. CNN, Biden prepares to conjure hope and bear pain for a grieving nation. The powerful duality of Kamala Harris's ascent. The Guardian, Biden prepares ambitious agenda even as he cleans up Trump's mess. It's always interesting to see the news media call 15 executive orders ambitious agenda. Welcome to the channel, guys. My name is Soren. Let's dive right into it. Check this out. Biden plans 15 executive actions on his first day in office. President-elect Joe Biden is planning a blitz of unilateral action shortly after taking office on Wednesday that will mark his first extensive effort to undo the last 4 years under President Donald Trump. On his first day in the White House, Biden will sign 15 executive actions covering the pandemic, economic relief, immigration, climate change, and racial equity. He will also move to freeze dozens of last-minute Trump administration regulations and send an immigration bill to Congress that will provide a pathway to citizenship for millions of undocumented immigrants. Basically, a perfect wish list for the left, and Biden kind of has to do it this way if he wants to get all of these things passed right away, because he can't really do it the way that you're supposed to, go through Congress and the Senate, all of those very annoying, difficult ways to do things, right? He can't really do that because a lot of Republicans are in there now deciding which way a bill would go. So now he's just passing 15 executive orders, which is that's a lot. That's that's radical in terms of what you do on the first day as a president. The article also says that with a tight Senate, a slim House majority, and a lasting Trump imprint on the federal judiciary, narrowing the avenues open to Biden to enact his agenda, many Democrats have urged him to lean heavily on his executive powers in the years to come. They urge him to do it. Where is all of the outcries of calling Trump an authoritarian for passing or for signing 1 executive order on day 1? I guess the difference is that now it's a Democratic president, so now it's not really a problem anymore. It says that Biden himself has repeatedly said that he would rather work with both parties in Congress than use his executive authority unilaterally. But his team boasted that the 15 executive actions surpassed the number his 4 predecessors took on the first days in office. And by the way, it's not just surpassing, it's literally like 15 times the amount of executive orders. The executive orders, as previewed by Biden's team in the days leading up to his swearing in, include a nationwide mask and social distancing mandate on federal lands and federal buildings and for federal employees and contractors, the creation of a COVID-19 response team that reports directly to the president, and the termination of Trump's so-called Muslim ban. They also include revoking the Keystone XL pipeline and repealing the Trump administration's Interior Immigration Enforcement Order that sought to withhold federal funds from cities that shielded undocumented immigrants. Additional actions include halting construction of the border wall, shoring up protections for so-called dreamers, and joining the Paris Climate Accord, which would make the US party to the agreement in 30 days. So a lot of these executive orders are obviously meant to roll back what Trump has been doing over the last 4 years. And you can kind of understand if you're the left, you're going to want to do all of this. It's just normally You would go through the Senate and the Congress, which you're supposed to, right? But he's just signing them all into action, and he's promising that a lot more is to come of these executive orders. Top officials in the incoming administration stressed to reporters on the Tuesday night call that additional announcements would soon follow. There's much more to come. This is just the beginning, said incoming press secretary Jen Psaki, adding that Biden would take more actions over the next 10 days. So the most important out of all of these executive orders and bills is that Biden will create a path to citizenship in just 3 years for all undocumented immigrants in the US. If you're a Democrat, you're really happy about this because essentially that means that in 4 years, when the next election is up, you have potentially tens of millions of extra voters, which I'm sure is just a coincidence, by the way. Separately, Biden will introduce an all-encompassing immigration bill titled the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021, which will provide a path to citizenship for the 11 million undocumented immigrants in the country and overhaul border security operations. So by the way, it's not 11 million. That's a very low number. The highest number go up to 25 million. So it's probably somewhere in between. The 11 is the official number, and you have a lot more unofficial people as well. Potentially, this is tens of millions of people, and at the same time, they're going to overhaul the border security operations, right? And by the way, when Biden says overhaul border security operations, it doesn't mean for the better. It doesn't mean to make it more secure. He's the opposite of Donald Trump, I guess, in terms of border security. To be fair, I do think Biden wants border security, but the combination of these two things is quite radical. It's a very straight way for the Democrats to gain a lot of voters really fast. It also says that the bill will provide an expedited citizenship pathway for dreamers, those with temporary protective status, and farm workers who would be able to get green cards immediately and apply for naturalization 3 years later. So it's the same for all of these green card workers. They'll essentially also only have 3 years to a path to citizenship. Other undocumented immigrants, including all other essential workers who don't fit in those 3 categories, can seek temporary legal status, followed by a green card after 5 years, and then apply for citizenship after an additional 3 years. On top of all of these things, Biden has promised in the next 10 days to rejoin the Paris Climate Agreement, and he's rejoining on behalf of the US the WHO as well, which obviously under Trump the US left. That's a record number of changes coming to the US in just a matter of days, and by record I mean no one ever came close, right? I do hope that the Biden administration, especially internationally, will do well, and I do think that it's a good idea to rejoin the WHO. China has been taking over a lot of the power in the vacuum that the US left when they left the agreement with the WHO, the funding that the US withdrew under Trump. So I do think that it's a good idea for the US to rejoin the WHO, because I just see China gaining more and more influence. And I don't think almost anyone is better served with China growing exponentially in power. To me, the most interesting thing here is to see how long Biden will last as a president. He is almost 80 years old, and it's not just the age thing, it's also the way that he talks and behaves, and he just seems like someone who's going to struggle a lot with having daily meetings, like international meetings with foreign leaders and national security updates and briefs. And I just don't see him lasting month after month out of not just a full-time job, but probably like an 18-hour job every single day over and over again for months and months. I just don't see it happening. So my prediction, and I know some of you guys will disagree with me, but my prediction is that he'll only be president for I give him 6 months at most, because looking at him at press conferences, I just don't see it, and we're supposed to close our eyes and pretend like no, he's completely fine, because now he's replacing Trump and we won't have any more tweets and all of that. So now he's completely fine. Nothing's wrong here. Just look away and pretend everything's fine. I can't do that. And I don't want to do that. I want to call things the way I see it, and the way I see it is an old man who's going to have a very, very hard time keeping up with world affairs, domestic affairs. I just don't see it, guys. But tell me what you think. I'm sure some of you will disagree with me. I think that Harris will begin to be briefed more and more, begin to step up, and probably end up being the president before the first year is over. I just don't see any other viable option. So that's a bit of my skeptical side on this issue. I mean, I could be wrong on this, but I sure wouldn't mind being wrong, but I just think that Harris will take over before too long. Tell me what you think about this whole thing in the comment section, and thank you so much for watching the video until the very end. Have a great day, guys, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.